Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It's Hump Day. James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Hope you're having a good, great, amazing week this week. This year has started off with a bang for those in cybersecurity, and today is no different. It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 22 days into this new decade, this new year, and here are our headlines. Journalist Glenn Greenwald has been charged with hacking. A data leak strikes U.S. cannabis users. ProtonVPN apps handed to the open source community. And Microsoft exposed 250 million call center records in a privacy snafu. And now for your daily cyber briefing, brought to you by our friends at cyberhubusa.co for all of your physical cyber awareness needs, for custom-made cyber security program development, and for virtual CISO services. Go to cyberhubusa.co for more information and support our sponsors, because that's how we're able to bring you our great content. And so let's start with today's leading story, where the co-founder of investigative news website The Intercept and journalist Glenn Greenwald has been accused of cybercrimes linked to hacking the phones of senior government officials in Brazil. Alongside Greenwald, 6 other individuals are being accused of the same crime. In an official statement, the Brazilian prosecution service claimed the journalist took part and even encouraged hacking of exchanges between senior government figures through the messaging service Telegram that related to Operation Car Wash, Brazil's largest corruption investigation to date. For those unfamiliar with Brazil internal politics and listening, Brazil has been an extremely corrupt country for ages. This isn't anything new. This isn't something in the past decade. It's been going on for, a really, really long time. I think probably close to 200, 300 years. Whatever the case may be, corruption has been really widespread in Brazil. And this specific investigation has led to the arrest of former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who presented a threat to the elections of current incumbent Jair Bolsonaro. Lula's case was handled by a former judge, Sergio Muro, who was later named Minister of Justice by Bolsonaro. The inner workings of Car Wash were exposed in the leaked messages, casting doubt over Muro's conduct and potential political bias when working on Lula's case. The Telegram exchanges and questions are linked to The Intercept's extensive reporting series questioning the ethics and methods employed by the Anti-Corruption Task Force, which began in June of 2019. Greenwald's charges have sparked controversy, as the Brazilian Federal Police said last December that it could not find any evidence of wrongdoing in the journalist's modus operandi. However, the latest accusations present a different take on the case. While accepting a journalist's rights to report on leaks related to the corruption case, the prosecutor argued, and this is the very important part of this specific case, that Greenwald was part of the criminal investigation, helped encourage and guided the hackers that obtained the Telegram chat histories. The prosecutor's claims around the hacking activity supposedly carried out by Greenwald, who was not investigated, are based on the analysis of a computer that was found at the house of one of the hackers. The MacBook, according to the prosecutor's statement, contained an audio recording with a conversation between the journalist Greenwald and one of the hackers about the intercepted messages and methods thereof. According to the prosecutors, in the recording, Greenwald told hackers to delete stolen messages that had been forwarded to him so as to cover their tracks and reduce the possibility of criminal liability. For those of us who work in cybersecurity, so if you're listening to this podcast, if you're tuning in today and it's your first time and you're new to cyber, you realize that hackers would automatically do this. That's a pretty standard, operating procedure. It's a modus operandi of hackers. You delete the information you give out and you get in order to erase the track and make it very difficult to track you. So the fact that Greenwald has given them that instruction leads you to believe that he was actually managing these hackers. He could have hired them to do this work and so forth. In July of 2019, 4 hackers were arrested in connection with the Telegram hack. According to court documents, the group used a relatively unknown hacking trick to bind victims' Telegram accounts to their phones. The Intercept co-founder posted a reaction on the charges on Twitter, describing the accusations as an attack on Brazilian democracy and an obvious attempt to attack a free press in retaliation for the revelations were reported on Minister Moro and the Bolsonaro government. Greenwald, who's won a Pulitzer Prize for his reporting on NSA spying by traitor Edward Snowden, he said that he exercised extreme caution in his dealings with his sources and did nothing more than his job, quote, acting ethically and within the law. The charges against Greenwald now need to be accepted by a judge before the journalist could stand trial in Brazil. Greenwald does reside in Brazil. He was one of those who pushed Edward Snowden to betray his oath of office, his commitment, and this country. And so if he rots in a Brazilian jail, that wouldn't affect me one bit at all, especially if he's guilty of in telling these hackers to go after these specific people and get him data rather than actually letting the data come to him through a whistleblower, which was the case with Snowden. And that is the challenge of our generation. It's something we'll be talking about in Goodbye Privacy. First episode airs on January 31st. Our other podcast, Goodbye Privacy, you can tune in, go subscribe now. We'll be talking a little bit about our whole seasons around election security, and we'll be talking about the role of media in that podcast. A much more geopolitical podcast and cyber related, and definitely privacy focused. So make sure you tune in and subscribe to that. To our next story, another day and another leaky database. And this one has impacted 30,000 people connected to the medical and recreational marijuana industry. On Wednesday, the famous and amazing research team at VPN Mentor, led by Noam Rotem and Ron LaCour, said that the unsecured Amazon S3 bucket uncovered online without any authentication or security in place was the source of the leak. The database, found on December 24th as part of the firm's web scanning project, is reportedly owned by TH Suite, described as seed to sale software, a point of sale and management system used in dispensaries across the U.S. where medical marijuana is legal. Medical marijuana is now permissible by law in some U.S. states for those who have been missing the headlines for the last 6 years. Dispensaries are held to strict legal standards to prevent abuse or the flouting of state law, and as a result, automatic systems like TH Suite can make compliance and record keeping much easier for operators. According to VPN Mentor, personally identifiable information belonging to 30,000 individuals was leaked. In total, over 85,000 files were exposed to anyone who stumbled across this database. The full names of patients, staff members, dates of birth, phone numbers, physical addresses, email addresses, medical ID numbers, the cannabis used, price, quantity, and receipts were all available for view. None of the data was encrypted. In addition, scanned government and employee IDs were recorded in the leaky bucket and stored through the Amazon Simple Storage service. Rather than examine every record, which would skirt the lines of ethical behavior, the researchers grabbed some random samples related to dispensaries in Maryland, Ohio, and Colorado to ascertain the depth of the leak. Among the samples were records from Americana dispensary, including customer PII and information related to the firm's inventory and sales. Bloom Medicinals included similar PII alongside cannabis product lists, suppliers, price, monthly sales, discounts, returns, and taxes paid. Colorado's Grow Companies exposed information related to monthly sales, discount taxes, employee names, and inventory lists. It is likely that more dispensaries were impacted by this specific breach. As medical data has been breached, this could have consequences under HIPAA, which demands strict security to be implemented by controls of protected health information under the law. Those who violate HIPAA can face a multi-million-dollar fine or jail time. 2 days after the database was discovered, VPN Mentor reached out to TH Suite but received no response. This led to researchers contacting AWS on the 7th of January, and a week later, on the 14th, access to the database was actually revoked. So, cannabis users, this database, while not large in size, very private. A lot of people who use medical cannabis don't want people to know that they do that. It may impact their job, their view in the community, as some people still view cannabis as a hard drug. And so this has major privacy implications for the patients who were exposed in this database, and goes on to talk about some of these newer technologies and newer industries and how serious they're taking security. Real quick, as I've been saying all week, we'll be in Dallas on February 4th for a live audience podcast recording. So make sure you pre-register now. We are finalizing our location and hope to have that out for you guys here shortly, so you can get your tickets and be with us with Mark Hopp, the CISO at DataBank, and Patrick Benoit, the BISO at CBRE. We're also securing a few more special guests to join us on the podcast. This is going to be a great opportunity to interact with myself, our CISOs, ask questions, be part of the conversation, and really engage and talk about security and privacy in a more face-to-face approach, which I appreciate as well. And now to our next story, where ProtonVPN has handed over application code to the open source community in a bid to improve transparency and security standards. On Tuesday, the VPN provider, also known for the Proton Mail Secure email service, said that the code backing ProtonVPN applications on every system, Microsoft Windows, Apple, macOS, Android, and iOS, is now publicly available for review in what Switzerland-based ProtonVPN calls natural progression. In a statement, the company says there is a lack of transparency and accountability regarding who operates VPN services, their security qualifications, and whether they fully conform to privacy laws like GDPR. Making all of our applications open source is therefore a natural next step. Each application has also undergone a security audit by a SEC consult, which provides ProtonVPN, which ProtonVPN says builds upon a previous partnership with Mozilla. Back in 2018, Mozilla ran a trial with a small number of US-based Mozilla Firefox browser users to offer ProtonVPN as a recommended service to protect their privacy and mask online activity. While the partnership did not go any further, instead Mozilla has created its own Firefox private network. The trial did not require ProtonVPN's technology to undergo an inspection by the browser as part of Mozilla's due diligence requirements. The window audit reports identified 2 low-risk vulnerabilities related to jailbreaking and a lack of SSL certificate pinning. The macOS report uncovered no bugs at all, whereas 1 medium-risk vulnerability and 4 low-risk vulnerabilities were discovered in the Android audit, the worst of which was an insecure logout issue. Finally, the iOS report documents 2 medium-risk vulnerabilities and 2 low-risk vulnerabilities, the most serious security flaw being the use of hard-coded credentials and sensitive data contained in memory. All the vulnerabilities were either accepted or fixed at the time of disclosure. The source code for each of these apps is now available on GitHub, so you can go there to look it over. As a community-supported organizations, we have a responsibility to be as transparent, accountable, and accessible as possible. Going open source helps us to do just that and serve you better at the same time. I'm a big fan of Proton and what they're doing in terms of privacy and really their awareness to users. So I think this is a great move overall. There's a lot of VPNs out there. You see them all the time. You hear about them. It's great to be able to know who's behind your VPN, where you don't have to spend a lot of time researching the company, kind of going through the due diligence aspect before you buy the product. So kudos. I wish more companies would follow suit with that. I think that'd be a great addition to the cybersecurity practitioner to create a VPN product that any one person can use at any given time at a very, very low rate. And as we know, VPN is just the basics of securing your connection. And now to our final story of the day, and it involves our friends over at Microsoft, who briefly exposed call center data on almost 250 million customers via several unsecured cloud servers late last year, this according to researchers. Bob Dychenko spotted the major privacy snafu a day after databases across 5 Elasticsearch servers were indexed by the Binary Edge search engine on December 28th. Each contained a seemingly identical trove of Microsoft customer service and support records spanning a 14-year period. The records included phone conversations between service agents and customers dating back to 2005, all password-free and completely unprotected according to CompuTech. Most personally identifiable information was redacted from the records, but many apparently contained customer email and IP addresses, support agent emails, and internal notes and description of their CSS cases. This presented not just a phishing risk, but a valuable collection of data for tech support scammers who impersonate call center agents from Microsoft and other companies to install malware on victim machines and steal financial data. If scammers obtained the data before it was secured, they could exploit it by impersonating a real Microsoft employee and referring to a real case number. From there, they could phish for sensitive information or hijacked user devices. However, Microsoft was praised for acting swiftly to lock down the servers. After being informed by Dychenko on the 29th, all data was secured by December 31st. So, quick reaction again. Bob Dychenko, a legendary security researcher in our industry, really hands down, constantly finding vulnerabilities, helping companies patch up any unsecured servers, and we're kind of seeing this become a pattern here. In our final word before we wrap up today's daily cyber briefing, which is we're not really keeping inventory of our data. We don't have very good data integrity as organizations, small, large, or enterprise. And as such, these security researchers who are looking for these kinds of vulnerabilities to let us know about them, we continuously hear more and more about it, whether it be companies like Microsoft or others who, use the AWS Elasticsearch buckets or whatever the case may be. So for those listening, data inventory, data integrity are a crucial part of security, and it's time we start taking that a bit more seriously this year to get rid of these stories, because I'd love nothing better than to be able to report on brute force stuff and really sophisticated stuff than just the elementary stuff of unsecuring a database. That's it for our daily cyber briefing today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, give us 5 stars on your favorite podcast listening platform. Share this with your friends, co-workers, colleagues, and whoever else. This podcast continues to grow thanks to our listeners organically. We don't pay $1 to promote this. It is thanks to you, our listeners, that we continue to grow. So again, make sure you subscribe and share every day, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be live on YouTube where you can interact and join us. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week and today, and stay cyber safe.